college football podcast for everyone and everyone else. I'm your host, John Buhler, lead writer, fanside.com. I'm joined today by a man who could sleep. When he lived alone, is there a ghost in his house? No, it's probably just a dog. Cody Williams, content director, fanside.com. How the hell are you?
Brother, I ain't been sleeping a whole hell of a lot because I got a dog that's afraid of fireworks, my man. So it's been a time out here, but I'm doing good. We're here, we're thriving. How you doing? Good to have you back.
Yeah, it's good to be back. I've got some stuff. We're going to finish the show with some local scouting report. I've been to Athens to see Band of Horses. I also did 4th of July in Atlanta.
Mhm.
The state is just absolutely wild, and I'm sure New Mexico is wild in a totally different way. It's feral.
Feral is a perfect way to describe it. Absolutely feral. But the starters, they're not feral. So while you're here, guys, please just smash that like button like you're Joey Chestnut eating a hot dog. It's the easiest one in the world, man. Like dude took a year off, came back and ate 70 and a half hot dogs. What an absolute legend.
I was at the Falcons game when he was setting a record there. That was.
Like I wrote something up for fanside.com just about like his different records, net worth, just kind of like all the stuff people want to know about Joey Chestnut, informational post. And I got to the part where I was going to list out his eating records, and I looked at the page and I was like, I don't have time for this. There's like 60 things here. Like he's just an animal.
No, you get down like he has had 81 jalapeno poppers. And I'm like, I think his intestines hate him.
I mean, like his number of crystal burgers that he ate is, I'm pretty sure, in like the 300s in like 8 minutes.
Jesus. I mean, like I could probably eat 12, but I just space it out.
Yeah, dude, it's unbelievable the amount of food and like I think what blows my mind is it's not like just limited to like, main dishes or something like that. Like there was also one where he ate like 4.5 3-pound pies in 10 minutes. Like what God's name are we doing, man?
I know it's absolutely wild here. We've obviously false started here. So our first and 15 is going to go to a guy who probably hands out a belt. Brett Yormark, does he hand out a belt to Joey Chestnut for eating all those hot dogs? But you missed your mark. So we're recording this on Sunday. This is coming out on Monday. And then Tuesday and Wednesday, we've got Big 12 Media Days at the Star in Frisco. You wrote a little bit about Deion Sanders for fanside.com, and I kind of wrote about the people that are going to be there. So I'm excited for this because college football is also here,
Mhm.
and the Big 12 is completely all over the place, dude.
It's gonna be wild, and yeah, we'll start like I mean, we've talked about it throughout the offseason. Like the defining trait of the Big 12 is no one knows what the hell's gonna happen, which
Yeah.
is it makes it a hell of a lot of fun to cover, makes it a hell of a lot of fun to watch. But at the same time, when you're going into media days, that also makes for a very fun media days because like you don't know what kind of questions you're gonna get. We already raked him over the coals for not having the preseason poll anymore going into media days. That sucks. We hate that. But I wrote about Deion Sanders for fansided.com, and basically my big takeaway is he's bringing both quarterbacks to Big 12
Yeah.
media days, and like that sends a message to me and not a good one. It sends a message to me that you don't know what direction you're going in because there are two directions. One, do you try to essentially like help water find its level in a post Shador, post Travis Hunter world with Caden Salter, who again I don't think is the best fit, but I do think has a ton of experience and probably gets you to a bowl game. Or do you start building for the future and just give the keys to Juju Lewis, take the growing pains that are obviously going to come with that, but you probably set yourself up for a better 2026, 2027 if you start Juju Lewis this year. Colorado's not in a good spot right now. If I'm not mistaken, they're outside the top 100 in 24/7's recruiting rankings right now. Like they are in a very weird spot. And I think one thing, if I was Deion Sanders, I would be using Big 12 media days to try and at least like represent some type of united front, some type of, this is the direction that we're heading in. And like, it's more of the directionless that has kind of worried us about Colorado in a post Shador world.
Yeah, I wrote about this for fanside.com too. I'm basically listed like when's everybody talking and who the players are going to be. So for the starters at home, the Big 12 is going to do 8 teams on Tuesday and then the other 8 teams on a Wednesday. They can bring between 3 and 6 players. Colorado brought 5, including both quarterbacks, Julian Juju Lewis and Caden Salter. They also brought I'm trying to think who else they had here. I'm scrolling down. Offensive lineman Jordan Seaton, who was a big time recruit for them.
Mhm.
Defensive back DJ McKinney, and kicker Alejandro Mata. So
Love that.
it just, I think our colleague Alicia De Artola Castillo said it best. It's like who's not there says more.
Mhm.
Obviously, Jake Retzlaff is not going to be there for BYU. He was probably going to be the 6th. That basically pulls us down with the Cougars. It'll be interesting to see where he transfers to.
Hmm.
There's also no Connor Wegman there for Houston. I thought that was very odd.
Yeah, that's something definitely to note. But I do wonder. And kind of one of the things we've talked about with Wegman is like going to Houston can be a reset. Like you came into Texas A&M as a five-star, like you were expected to be the guy that was going to take Texas A&M over the top, especially because if I'm not mistaken, he was recruited by Jimbo. So
Yeah,
like he was supposed to be the five-star guy that takes over Jimbo's offense, finally gets it clicking at Texas A&M. Obviously did not work out that way. And so that feels I don't feel like that's necessarily a negative as much as it is calculated on the part of Willie Fritz. I feel like it's like, hey man, you've had enough time in the spotlight. How about you just go be the quarterback for the Houston Cougars? And like, who knows how that's going to work out? But at least like from a mental side of things, like I respect that decision. And I think like at least unlike Deion Sanders, it shows some sort of direction, some sort of plan that you're instituting here.
100%. That makes sense. So essentially, every quarterback who's Brennan Sorsby at Cincinnati or better is going, and as they should. Like Sorsby played very well last year for the
Yeah,
Bearcats. Rocco Becht, Jalen Daniels is still in school.
that's
Avery
right.
Johnson, Sam Leavitt. Trying to think who else was on here. Noah Fafita, Devin.
I'm just thinking about Jalen Daniels. He probably has his own suite now, like at this point.
uh, I probably rent a car to go there.
Yeah, 100% easily.
But there's also teams on there like that don't have hardly anybody, and that's like
Mhm.
the teams like Oklahoma State, West Virginia, and UCF, which were basically saying they're not going to do much this year.
Yeah, no, and on the Oklahoma State front, I can understand it a little more than I can with Rich Rod and Scott Frost because when you're coming off the season that Oklahoma State had, if I'm Mike Gundy and I'm trying to reset and I'm trying to get Oklahoma State back to what it's been, Mike Gundy, for all of his many faults, knows that he can handle being the lightning rod, can handle the tough questions, can handle being up in the podium and taking the questions about like, how do you rebound from a 2-win season? That might not be something you want to subject a younger team to. And so like I understand that. If you're Scott Frost and Rich Rod, you probably want to give some sort of semblance of positivity with a new era beginning at your program. Well, an old new era if you're Rich Rod and an old new era if you're Scott Frost as well. So like two old new eras, but like you do want to present something positive going forward into this. And I feel like what they're doing is the opposite of that.
That makes a lot of sense. I was also looking at it for like teams that have like another star as well. So you have Sam Leavitt and Jordan Tyson
Hmm.
for Arizona State, and then at Utah you have Devin Dampier and offensive tackle Spencer Fano. So like that's a guy that's probably going to be a top 10 pick.
Hmm.
I think when you have players like that also there, it signifies like if they had a poll, I would be kind of stunned at this point if Arizona State and Utah were not in the top quarter.
I agreed completely. Like I'm starting to talk myself more into Utah as we go into this. Like I have no clue at this point who I'm picking to win the Big 12 because it's probably going to be whatever I feel in the day that we do the Big 12 preview, if I'm being completely honest. But like Utah is far more in consideration for that in July than they were in April, than they were in May for me. The more I think about it, the more I think that they have some really nice things working in their favor. And that's one of them. But yeah, like if they were doing a poll, those are two teams that would probably be like again, one of the four teams that you would feel comfortable choosing as your champion.
Okay, so I'm gonna make you choose a champion before we move on. Let's just do this. Who's playing in the Big 12 championship? Who wins and who finishes in last?
I'll go. I'm gonna go Arizona State, Iowa State. I'm gonna play it safe for now. I probably won't when we get to the Big 12 preview, but right now I'm gonna go Arizona State, Iowa State. I'm just gonna stick with Arizona State. Like I just think that they have enough. Like I like frankly, I like Kenny Dillingham more as a coach in the Big 12 than I do Matt Campbell at this point. And that's not to disparage Matt Campbell. Like Matt Campbell's a great coach. I just think Matt Campbell is destined for somewhere else. Whereas I think Kenny Dillingham, like Big 12 might just be where he thrives for the rest of his career. And so I look at that and that's where I'm going to go with that. Worst team, I think it's pretty clearly to me UCF. I don't trust Scott Frost. I don't trust the talent level that they have there. With Rich Rod, at least schematically, I know that they're going to be able to catch some people in their heels. It's not going to be pretty. It's probably not going to be result in a bowl game. But like in terms of finishing last, like I think that he has enough schematically to avoid that.
I picked the same three teams. That's kind of what
Hell
I'm
yeah.
leaning to. Yeah, Arizona State over Iowa State. Again, I think the fact Marcus Arroyo is still in Tempe, overqualified to be doing that. Better staff than I think what Iowa State has. I think that's the ultimate difference there. And then if you're picking between like the bottom of the barrel there and the Big 12, UCF's got a ways to go.
Yeah, they've got a uphill climb ahead of them.
They sure do. And at the top of the hill, when Gus Malzahn says, "Let's go, boys! Come on, let's go, boys!" He also says, "You're doing great, sweetie."
That's right.
We praised Arizona State like we should. Now we're going to do the exact opposite. So Walter Camp had its preseason All-American team, and you can check it out. First team and second team. They released it earlier in the week. We got that a little bit beforehand before the embargo was on this.
Mhm.
First team quarterback was Cade Klubnik, which we're like, okay, I can get behind that. Second team was Sam Leavitt, and I didn't see Garrett Nussmeier, LaNorris Sellers, or Drew Allar anywhere.
I also didn't see Arch Manning. Let's be clear about that too. Like that's someone you have to talk
Good.
about this. Yeah, but I mean, like to me, if I'm looking at this, see, I really enjoy watching Sam Leavitt play. I think Sam Leavitt's a great player. That offense did not run through Sam Leavitt a year ago.
No.
And like I think we know about as much of a Sam Leavitt led offense as we do an Arch Manning led offense. So if you're going to include Sam Leavitt, we have to talk about Arch Manning being a consideration for that second team All-American spot as well. Because like, yes, Sam Leavitt has more experience, but he hasn't necessarily had to run the offense at the level he's going to have to this season. And so man, this is a wild call by the preseason All-American team. Like I personally would probably have Nussmeier there. Like I think that's probably the safest pick. If I want with my heart of hearts, I probably have LaNorris Sellers there. But like if like Nussmeier, I'm still a believer in his talent. I still believe that he's probably, if Arch Manning doesn't enter the draft, like my favorite to be the number one pick in the 2026 NFL draft. And like it is wild to take a redshirt sophomore who has never led an offense at the level he's about to have to do, as opposed to Nussmeier, who, again, as I've said many times, Nussmeier was far from the problem with LSU last year. Nussmeier played pretty damn good last year for LSU.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. Like I would have probably had. I don't know if you would have had Nuss at one on the first team, but I would have got Klubnik and then Nussmeier. If
Yeah,
like
I probably would have, like, it's
objectively,
hard to argue with Klubnik at this point.
yeah, he's got the 5-star pedigree. He played at God, whatever I think Chaparral High School. I think maybe that's not it.
Brother, you
But
know high school's way
Westlake.
better than I do.
He played at the school in Austin that Drew Brees and Sam Ehlinger
Mhm.
played at.
Okay,
So
okay.
then he goes to Clemson. If like what's that third or fourth year in the system with Garrett Riley.
Yeah.
Looked pretty good at times down the stretch for Clemson. Like really showed me a lot of something that I didn't think was in him. And then Nussmeier just hasn't played as much as
Mhm.
Klubnik, but has had very high highs as well. Obviously, if I went with my heart, it would be LaNorris Sellers number one with the bullet. But
Yeah.
again, with Dowell Loggins gone out of Columbia, you wonder what's going to happen to the offense. It's Mike Shula, I think is.
That's right. That's right. You
But
never know.
I am a fan of Levitt. I just kind of feel like you're absolutely right. The offense ran through Cam Scatabo more than
Mhm.
anything. Yeah, you got Jordan Tyson, but you bring in Udo from Army. Um, I expect Levitt to be really, really good, be a first round pick whenever he does come out, but like that's a little rich for me.
Yeah, it's just a little rich. And I mean, like, it also, I understand, like, I think the only justifiable thing about this is like, I can understand why you don't have Drew Allar there as the second team quarterback. Just
Yeah.
because, like, even with the progression that we expect him to take, even with his draft pedigree that he's likely going to have, also likely going to be a first round pick in 2026, he's most likely not going to put up ridiculous numbers because he has Allen and Singleton there behind him. Like that's the heartbeat of that offense. And like very much in it, like to me, picking Aller would be very akin to like picking JJ McCarthy a couple years ago to be second team All
Yeah.
American. So like I can understand Aller not getting this. Like Aller's quality as a player is not going to show up in the stat sheet, which that's what these All American teams and awards are all about. So like I fully understand that. But like when you're talking about Nussmeier, when you're talking about the potential of Sellers, when you're talking about the potential of Arch Manning, like, man, I don't think the ceiling is nearly as high for Levitt as it is those guys.
No, like I think there's upwards of six first round quarterbacks. You'd have Nussmeier, Klubnik, Sellers, Aller, Levitt, and potentially Manning, which I don't think Manning is going to turn pro after
Agreed.
this year. But like, maybe the next year, if it's going to be more Nussmeier, Aller, Klubnik, which it seems like it's their time to
Mhm.
go, Then you go further down with like Sellers and Manning and then Levitt, and then maybe we'll see what happens with Mensa.
Yeah, Mensa, and then like again, we've already mentioned him slightly, but like Devin Dampier, like that's a dude who
Mhm.
could like. I mean, there's always sleepers in there, but that's a guy I have my own. Who's going to put up ridiculous numbers this year.
For sure. And I guess like with I wrote about this for fanside.com about Aller, like the most disrespected like player in the country. Again, the JJ McCarthy comparisons are spot on. There's a lot of what they do well that's very similar.
Mhm.
I think that there's a little bit more self-awareness with Aller, but I also
Agreed.
think there's a little bit more fear.
I don't know if fear is the right word. I wonder if a little bit of it, we'll talk about this in a little bit, but I wonder how
Okay.
much of it is the James Franklin factor in it all. And like
Yeah.
having, like, let's just be clear, JJ McCarthy was coached by Jim Harbaugh. And look, Jim Harbaugh, I don't know if I would have let him coach me, but if there's one thing the man knows how to do, it's instill confidence. Like
Yeah.
irrational probably, but confidence nonetheless. James Franklin, man, I can't imagine like hearing a James Franklin hype speech and like actually like being affected by it.
If we score a touchdown, I'd ever go into sheets, boys.
That's hey, actually, you know what? You changed my mind. If that's the hype speech, I'm down. Sheets is awesome.
Jim Harbaugh is like, you can ask anybody out. You can look at whatever you want on the computer. It's fine. Just ask Matt Weiss.
That's right. Jesus.
I don't know. Happy 4th of July. Yeah. But I'm gonna fear with Aller. It's just like there's like a little bit, it's muted, I
Mhm.
would say, is probably the better word for it.
Yeah, no, I think it's definitely fair. And like to be clear, like for Aller to live up to the NFL draft pedigree, like how we talk about him, like he does have progressions that he needs to make. He does need to be better. He needs to make better decisions, frankly, I think is what it boils down to. And part of that is you know, I I always struggle with the word fear. It's almost but like panicky. So I guess somewhat related to fear. But like panicky stuff and like just a little bit more poise. And like again, to me, that comes down to confidence and coaching to some degree because like JJ McCarthy rarely showed a lack of poise, even when he was asked to do stuff, which was rare in Michigan's offense. But like there was never a time where I was like, oh, McCarthy looks out of his depth. And like there were times, particularly against Notre Dame, like late in that game, where I was like, Drew, like your mind looks like it's moving entirely too fast. Like you look like you're processing way too much right now.
If they're going through like a simple out route, which we do talk a little bit of ball because
Yeah.
we know this. It's like a simple out route, run like what 10 yards, and go out to the sidelines. Like McCarthy's like, yeah, I'm gonna spin around and fling it. It's gonna go 50 miles an hour. I don't know where it's gonna go, but I'm gonna do it.
It might not even go to my teammate for all I know. But hell, I'm firing it in there.
Whereas King Broccoli Aller's over there, just like, oh geez. He's a Kyle Broflovsky over there. It's like, can I make it there? It's like you have to.
He's like Tweak. He's not even Kyle Broflovsky. He's Tweak.
What was the line from Remember the Titans? It's like, I was the youngest of 15, but I had to hold my weight.
That's
And Yost goes up to like Herman Boone. He's like, how many siblings do you have? 6.
yeah, 8 sounds better.
But yeah, I think it's good to see like the Klubnik's kind of finally gotten that shine that he's probably deserved. Maybe Aller gets it this year. It was like
yeah.
everybody was dumb. Like this time a year ago, we were all down on Klubnik.
Yeah, 100%. I mean, I surely was. I mean, I remember talking to Reed Wallach on Stacking the Box and like in 2023, he was super high on Klubnik. Did not work out for him because Klubnik did not play well in 2023. And then he was all out on Clemson and Klubnik last year. And then that made like, he was just early. That's what it boiled down to. But like Klubnik does definitely come into his own. And like I was super out on Clemson last year and they made the college football playoff again. Like I would not have had that going into the year because I had lost faith in Riley and Klubnik, frankly.
A lot of people have, and a lot of people do. And one guy who does not lose faith in them is the new employee of On3. That would be Brett McMurphy. We're going to move on to here with some playoffs. You kidding me?
Yes, sir.
Um, Trying to not cough, but here we go. So
Hey, if you got a cough, you got a cough, man. Let it loose.
so I think he switched from the Action Network to On3 on July 1, and then he released his top 12 and his bowl projections. So your North Carolina Tar Heels are going to the military to play Navy, so that's good.
I mean, I could not be less confident in that actually happening, but sure. Congratulations to the Tar Heels.
Congratulations to them, and congratulations to these 12 teams who have made the McMurph bracket.
Yes,
So,
sir.
so number one, I'm gonna rattle this down here, and then we're just gonna talk about some thoughts. So number one, he's got Notre Dame. 2 Penn State winning the Big Ten, 3 Georgia winning the SEC, 4 Ohio State as the Big Ten runner-up, 5 Texas as the SEC runner-up, 6 Clemson winning the ACC, Alabama at 7 as an at-large out of the SEC, LSU at 8 an at-large out of the SEC, Oregon 9 an at-large out of the Big Ten, Miami at 10 coming out as a runner-up of the ACC, Utah at 11 winning the Big 12, and then 12, you have Boise State winning the Mountain West in the group of 5. So Texas, no, Boise State at Texas, Utah at Clemson, Miami at Alabama, Oregon LSU. Then he's got his New Year's Six. The Cotton Bowl's got number 4 Ohio State versus Texas, Orange Bowl number 1 Notre Dame versus Oregon, number 9, Rose Bowl Penn State versus Alabama, Sugar Bowl Georgia Clemson. Your semifinals are Fiesta with Notre Dame versus Ohio State in the Fiesta Bowl, and the Peach Bowl is Penn State versus Georgia in the Dog's backyard. And then he's got Georgia beating Ohio State for the national championship. So have at it. Where do you want to go, bud?
Notre Dame is the number 1 seeds where we got to start, brother.
Yes.
What in the world are we? There's no chance in hell. I don't care if Notre Dame goes 12-0. There is no world where the College Football Playoff Committee is putting Notre Dame without a conference as the number 1 overall seed. You know me, I love to put on the conspiracy hat when it comes to the College Football Playoff Selection Committee. That's one thing I feel extremely confident in because I still believe in my heart of hearts that when there's these discussions behind closed doors, when you're talking about the Big Ten, the SEC, and the College Football Playoff, like they want Notre Dame in a conference more than anything because that is better for the brand of college football. That is better for the brand of one of these leagues, and it is better for what the College Football Playoff looks like. It makes things so much cleaner for the College Football Playoff. They are not going to reward them for playing, like getting to create their own schedule, and even if they navigate that and go 12-0. I'm also not convinced that they go 12-0. Let's be clear about that. But even if they did, there's no world where Notre Dame is going to be the number 1 seed.
It's insane. Like if you go 10-2 and you win the SEC or the Big Ten, you've got a pretty good chance of getting that 1 seed.
Yes.
If you go 11-1 in the ACC, there's a pretty good chance of you getting that 1 seed. And if you go 12-0 or 11-1 in the Big 12, you got a pretty good chance of getting that 1 seed. And also because Notre Dame plays Boise State. Like, what if Boise State? It's like.
And like the other thing, like too, to consider with this is if you're talking about conference champions, they get a 13th game. Like you get the chance to like get another quality win. And like we talked about Notre Dame's schedule. It is not like a cakewalk by any stretch of the imagination, but it is also not like an SEC schedule. It is also not an elite Big Ten schedule or anything like that. Like it is firmly in the middle ground in terms of what you're talking about with scheduling. Like I'm not going to fault them for having a weak schedule at all, but I'm also not going to say like, oh man, look at this murderer's row. They're not playing Florida schedule. They're not playing Oklahoma schedule. It's not even close.
No, like seeing them at 1, I'm like, man, they should be like 5 or 6.
Yeah, 100%. Like I don't mind like having them as a top 4 seed. Like that's one of the reasons why we did away with seeding is so Notre Dame like does get like have a chance to earn that because frankly they probably would have been the conversation for 1 last year had that been the case. But like number 1 overall, my God, like I don't want to say McMurphy lost credibility from that moment on in my eyes, but man, it didn't help. I'll tell you that.
Did that poke get headbutted by a cow too?
He may have, man.
You know, if you go to his timeline, he's got the top of he's got the pin tweet of his daughter talking about peanut free in the cafeteria. He's like, exactly 8 years ago, my then 9-year-old daughter. This retweet's like 4 years old, so I'm doing the math. She's like 22 now.
Hey, man, you know what? She's out at the bars having a good time, living her life.
Maybe not. I don't know. She's certainly not having peanuts. But anyway, like the one thing. So I had a lot of stuff to say here.
Yeah.
Again, I'm gonna talk with my dogs first. I'm gonna start right there because that was my other big thing. I had a feeling you'd go Notre Dame.
Yeah.
McMurphy put out a good way for Georgia could win a national championship, but like them being the 3 seed is very weird because it's implying that you lost a game, maybe 2. So did you lose at home to Texas? Did you lose at home to Ole Miss? Did you lose at home to Alabama? Did you beat one of them in the SEC championship game? And then it's like, okay, so you have to basically win the SEC championship game. Then you got to beat Clemson. Then you got to beat Penn State. Then you got to beat Ohio State. And if anybody can do that, it's Georgia, but that's a lot.
That's a lot. And I mean, I feel like Anytime you're a college football analyst and you're doing something like this, like you're going to put your name on something, and I fully respect that as you and I, two people who do that constantly. But at the same time, like I and when I try to do it, I try to keep my logic at least somewhat consistent, and I feel like the consistency with the logic here is just missing a lot, and I think it starts with Georgia. Like you have a Georgia team who has questions about it, like the defense is immensely talented. The defense was immensely talented a year ago and underperformed. So, like, are we going to get that elite Georgia defense that we're expecting, or is it going to underperform? And if it underperforms, well, damn, son, you've got Gunnar Stockton at quarterback. We don't know what that's going to look like. So, like, there's a lot of variance here. At the same time, he's also giving love to Ohio State, having them as the 4 seed, having them playing in the national championship game, having them beating Texas, when I think Texas has a comparable, if not better, comparable, if not better roster than Ohio State. And they have the same, or sorry, yeah, Texas had, okay, sorry. My mind's moving a mile a minute. But regardless, Arch Manning has a higher upside than a Julian Sayin, I'm totally blanking on another dude's name. Hit me with the other Ohio State quarterback.
Lincoln Kineholtz.
Thank you. Yeah, I about said the kid from Florida State, Kremenholtz, and I was like, that's not right at all. Regardless, Lincoln Kineholtz, like, those guys have less upside than Arch Manning and with similar unknowns. And like it feels like he just picked Georgia as like in Georgia and Ohio State as the two teams, and like I'm banking on their upside when there's teams with like in very similar situations with very similar questions who I don't think at least in my estimation, I don't think he did a good job of reasoning out why he chose those two over the rest of them.
Well, my big thing is like, why are you the 3 seed if you're Georgia? If you're winning the
Yeah.
SEC, you should be a 1 or 2.
Agreed.
And
Well, I mean, it all starts with Notre Dame at number 1. Like, what are we doing?
so it's like, okay, does Texas finally beat Georgia? Does Georgia finally beat Alabama? Does Georgia lose at home? Like something's got to give here. There's some things that like basically with this ranking is like you're assuming that Ohio State beat Texas, and you're also assuming that what Clemson beat LSU, maybe Georgia beat Texas at least once. You're assuming Clemson beat Miami.
I mean, like the Big Ten is just as confusing too, because like you're assuming like how did the Penn State Ohio State split go? Like, did Penn State beat Ohio State in the regular season, or did they get the rematch in the Big Ten championship game? Like, there's so many like weird things that just aren't explained with how like and like frankly don't feel possible with how we know this season could like in either direction how this season is going to play out. Like his rankings don't necessarily make sense with that.
No, and also he's got what Oregon going into Death Valley and beating LSU night game. Yeah, that's not happening.
Not a shot in the world, brother.
no chance.
Dante Moore is pissing so hard down his leg in that game. I could guarantee you that.
No, it's not liquid sunshine going out of his pants, to tell you that much.
A river runs through Death Valley. That's all I'm saying. The Yellow River.
The Yellow River Game Ranch is the liquid fear, if you want to call it. I guess you got anything else you want to talk about? I got maybe like a couple more things. How do you feel about Miami and Utah kind of rounding out the group of 5 or the Power 4 there?
Not great, if I'm being honest with you. Like, in terms, I'll start with Miami. I'm becoming more and more of the belief that the ACC is only getting one team in this year.
Okay.
And that's kind of where I come down on that. And if you do think they're getting in there, I don't necessarily have a problem with that being Miami. It's probably Miami or SMU, Georgia Tech, if you want a sleeper in there. But like, I don't think the quality of the league is that strong, frankly. And so I feel like the ACC is going to get disrespected, probably only gets one team. And like we saw last year, the only reason the ACC got 2 teams in there is because Clemson won the ACC championship over an SMU team that they basically had to put in at that point because they had the better resume. With Miami being down here and Clemson being in the top 6 seeds, like I don't see how the season plays out where that is the case. I don't see how we get to that point necessarily.
Like the only way Miami makes it is if you're basically assuming they lost Notre Dame week 1 and then you lost to Clemson and Charlotte, which that's possible.
It's possible, but unlikely. It's Mario Cristobal, brother. When have we ever seen him navigate the schedule that way?
When you try and take the high road, but you don't know where it is, you get Mario Cristobal.
That's right.
Utah at 11 seems weird. Like honestly, put them at 12. Put Boise State ahead of them.
Yeah, and like again, I'm getting higher on Utah. I'm not saying it's not a possibility that they win the Big 12 and make it into the college football playoff. However, I am saying that if we get to that point, it's probably going to be because there's a whole hell of a lot of chaos in the Big 12. And like you said, like we've talked about it, Boise State does not have the most difficult schedule to navigate. There's a reasonable chance that they are 12-1 or 13-0 after the Mountain West Championship game. And if that's the case, and you have a Utah team that's 10-3, 11-2, like you're going to have to consider Boise State for that spot.
Yeah, because you'll have a win over UNLV, maybe Colorado State, UNLV again. Your
Mhm.
loss is only going to probably be to Notre Dame
Yeah.
and South Bend, and that's going to be better than like presumably whatever you could be doing with Utah. Like I don't
Mhm.
think that there's really anybody in the Big 12 that's playing a ridiculously hard schedule.
No, they're playing each other, which is the league of variance. Like it all comes back to that. Like again, like it would not shock me in the slightest if a 9-3 team is playing for the Big 12 championship.
So you're looking at basically like one team getting in from the Big 12, one from the ACC, Notre Dame. So you're looking at like 8 going to the SEC and the Big 10 more likely than not.
Yeah, and I think that's fair though, because you look at the top, like you look at the top quadrants of both the SEC and the in the Big Ten. Like I think that's where the best teams in college football lie. Like South Carolina's not in this. The potential of Florida is not mentioned in this. And like you go on the Big Ten side, like Michigan's not mentioned in this. Indiana is not mentioned in this. Who, I know it's Indiana, but they just made the college football playoff
Yeah.
and upgraded at quarterback this offseason. So like these are things you have to consider. And like, if I'm weighing these things out, like, I'm going to take one of those teams, even if they didn't play for a conference championship, over a Miami team if their resume looks like 10-2 going into the ACC championship and they lose.
Like what's the difference between Indiana, Illinois, South Carolina versus Kansas State? Like there's
I
not much.
apologize to Illinois. I did forget Illinois in the Big Ten conversation, but
Auburn's in it too.
yeah,
Like there's a handful of other teams where it's like between the power two, you're probably going to get 4 unless the ACC gets 2, in which I'm not ruling out because I'm probably higher on Miami than you. Maybe you're higher on SMU than me. And then you got
probably. But I think like my macro takeaway with the ACC is that all of those teams are closer to Georgia Tech and Duke and like the middle class
yeah,
of the ACC than they are to Clemson.
right. Like they're closer to Pitt than Clemson.
Yeah, exactly. And like that's not a college football playoff caliber team to me.
No, you got anything else or you're going to move on?
No, I mean, unless you've got something else, we can talk about it. But I mean, I I could crap on Alabama a little bit more, but I'll refrain.
You know what? Like go ahead. Them at 7, that doesn't make any sense. They should be
It,
like 10.
it they shouldn't be in the college football playoff field. I'm still on that. We're gonna do local scouting report in a bit. This was not in it, but during 4th of July, we were hanging out with some friends, and they invited their new neighbors who both just moved here from Alabama, and both are Alabama fans. I was like, so Alabama or Auburn was my first question, and they were like, well, not Auburn. And I was like, all right, good question. And they were like, what do you think about Alabama? And I was like, I'm gonna be honest. I was like, I don't trust Ty Simpson. And the guy like just perked up and he goes, dude, me either. I think it's gonna go terribly. And like that's someone who's not me. Like that's not just me being a hater. That is an Alabama fan who just moved from Alabama. Like I don't think that feeling is wrong. I think that feeling of skepticism around Ty Simpson is a very real thing.
Well, you look at this. If you're the 7 seed, you probably went 10-2, and you probably didn't make it to Atlanta. That's
Right. Yeah, oh, yeah, 100%.
so. What's like the marquee win? Do you beat Georgia? Would that be that maybe Georgia's wins goes 11-1? Maybe that's how they get there. Maybe you beat LSU. I would have tried to assume is probably your marquee win there. Is the Tennessee win going to matter at all?
I mean, based on these projections, how much does the South Carolina win matter?
Or Florida State or
Yeah,
Mizzou? Like,
yeah.
what do you have? So
I mean, like we haven't talked a whole lot about it, but like the other thing is Alabama does not have an easy schedule. Alabama has to run a pretty hard gauntlet this year, and like I don't know, man. I don't know if I have the faith in like what this team like. The defense is going to be phenomenal. I am fully
mhm.
confident in that side of the ball, but at the same time, and you mentioned it a week ago, like there's a lot of cooks in this kitchen right now, and like I feel like to me that only has the potential to go one way, and that's messy.
You have 5 coordinators.
That's what I'm saying. Like, I feel like people are just going to be at each other's throats. Like, if Ty Simpson goes out against Florida State and stinks it up, and even if Alabama still wins the game, but Ty Simpson looks like crap, like, do you not think people are going to be like the other four coordinators and Kalen DeBoer are going to be in Ryan Grubb's ear and being like, man, you got to get this dude the hell off the field. And he's going to be like, no, this guy gives us the best chance to win. And like, it should like immediately we could start seeing cracks in the foundation.
I could see that. So DeBoer is not necessarily from Des Moines, but what if he was DeBoer from Des Moines and he gets all of his coordinators and they wear masks and they bang on trash cans? They're Slipknot, man.
Love it. That's what we
before
need.
before I forget. Also, what a Kelly Osbourne's husband's in that band.
No way. Are you
Yeah,
serious?
yeah. Like Ozzy was saying, like, yeah, my son-in-law is rock and roll royalty. I'm like, is he? But like, whatever.
Is he's in a rock and roll band for sure.
I play in the second most popular band from Iowa ever behind the Everly Brothers. Two totally different ends of the spectrum. The Everly Brothers and Slipknot. Let's go.
Sounds like a festival waiting to happen. I'll tell you right now.
Let's do the iconic wave to that. And let's move,
Yes, sir.
and let's move on to our next segment. We're going to be coming to you live from Eric Crouch's couch.
Oh yeah.
I believe what Circus Sports had their McMurphy tweeted this out. Basically, all their guys who have 100 to 1 better odds to win the Heisman Trophy. So I'm just gonna run through here and say everybody who's 25 to 1 or better, and then we'll just kind of do some Goldilocks, or we could do some Marty Ball, whatever you want to do.
Let's do some Goldilocks. Like, or wait, no, this would be. I'm an idiot. Sorry, you. We can Goldilocks it. We can do whatever, but let's Goldilocks it. Let's go with that. Too hot, too cold, just right.
All right. Arch Manning, quarterback Texas, 5 to 1. Garrett Nussmeier, quarterback LSU, 8 to 1. Cade Klubnik, quarterback Clemson, 9 to 1. Drew Allar, Penn State, quarterback, 12 to 1. Jeremiah Smith, wide receiver, Ohio State, 16 to 1. Florida quarterback DJ Lagway, 17 to 1. LaNorris Sellers, quarterback South Carolina, 19 to 1. Oregon quarterback Dante Moore, 20 to 1. Ohio State quarterback Julian Sand, 20 to 1. And Carson Beck, quarterback Miami, 25 to 1. You have the floor. Where do you want to start?
All right, so I'll go with. We'll start with too hot, and I got to go with your boy Carson Beck, man. 25 to 1. I don't see it quite so much, man. Like I think a lot of this is baked into A, Carson Beck is obviously a super recognizable name, and B, we saw what Cam Ward did last year. Let me go ahead and assure you, and I'm not breaking news to you, Bueller, but just to anyone who didn't know this, Carson Beck is not Cam Ward. They are
No.
quite different players. And like, I think this offense is going to look a hell of a lot differently. I think that they're honestly, I don't think that I think this offense could look very similar to Georgia's, and we see a lot of running the ball, a lot of like I think points are going to be scored. I think we're going to see him pushing down the field, but like I just do not see Beck putting up the numbers to be the Heisman contender, frankly. And to have him as one of the candidates at 25 to 1, man, like I would probably have him down in the. Honestly, I don't think it's out of the question to have him in like the Austin Simmons, Gunnar Stockton range, like Sam Leavitt, 35 to 40 to 1. Like I think that's where they should be.
Okay, I was a little bit more high on Beck because I've seen him play for 2 years,
Yeah.
but again, it's a totally different system and everything like that. So I can see that being too hot. I think that's more just right for me. Too hot for me is Arch Manning at 5 to 1. That's insane. Like let him lose in Columbus. Let the odds go down to like 14 to 1, and then bet on him if you really want to.
So go ahead. Go ahead.
Like no Manning has ever won the Heisman.
Mhm.
No Manning has ever won a national championship. It's a completely different era when he's playing versus when Grandpa Red and Uncles Eli and Peyton did. And you got to beat Georgia and who you picked, who you picked Texas over. So yeah, I'm 5 to 1 is throwing your money away.
So let me say two things. One, you're right. 5 to 1 is throwing your money away. I would never bet on a candidate that was 5 to 1 to win a Heisman preseason. To be clear, Arch Manning or anyone, I don't care who it is. There's no one that is worthy of that bet. That's not a good future bet. That's just the betting perspective in there. Having said that, the one thing I will say is this feels like sportsbook protecting themselves, which I like. This feels like the Dallas Cowboys of Super Bowl odds.
Okay.
The Dallas Cowboys Super Bowl odds never match what the Dallas Cowboys actually are as a team because they are popular. They have the name brand. And if you have casual bettors coming into Vegas at Circus Sports and they see Arch Manning, they're gonna put their money on that ticket. And what they're protecting themselves from is, let's say Arch Manning goes out in week 1 and lights up the Ohio State Buckeyes, puts up a show. They beat Ohio State. He has 5 total touchdowns, throws for 300 yards, rushes for another 50. Like, let's say that happens, and they had these odds set probably where they should be in terms of like likelihood at like 20-1. They're gonna take a bath on guys who have those tickets. And so, like, to me, Arch Manning's odds in this, you're right, they are too hot, but like, I my brain of knowing enough about the gambling world like looks at that and I'm like, I understand why it's there, even if it looks stupid.
That's Texas, man.
That's right. That's right.
You know,
Everything's bigger in Texas except for your odds. You know, they
yeah,
they they,
I
they
know.
slip.
I know I like mustard-based barbecue sauce. That's a personal thing for me, and that's fine. There are good tacos in the southeast. I'll leave it at that too.
Oh, yes, sir.
So anybody else you think it's too hot, or you want to move on to too cold?
Oh, I have another too hot. He's outside of 25-1, but we've already talked about him. Ty Simpson is at 30-1. Get the hell out of my face. There is no shot, no world where that is happening. Like, Alabama is going to win a lot of games this year. I'm not denying that. They could very well make the college football playoff. Not something I predicted, but it could happen. It is going to be on the strength of their defense. If Ty Simpson is your quarterback and he starts for 12 games, which, let's be clear, is not a guarantee, which makes the 30-1 look even crazier. But like, if it is, like, he's going to be the Greg McElroy of this. Like,
Yeah,
he is going to be the guy that is handing the ball off. He is going to be the guy that, hey, do not let the like give this team a 3-0 lead and the defense can protect it. That's going to be Ty Simpson's role. He is not going to be Michael Penix. He is not going to be Jalen Milroe. Like, that's absurd.
yeah. Don't bet on that, but they got to bet on somebody. I've got two more. Uh, Joey Aguilar at 55-1, and Caden Salter at 60-1. Like
I had Joey down as well, so I'm with you there.
it's like, what are the chances that Joey Aguilar leads Tennessee to the playoff? Tennessee has never had a Heisman Trophy winner. They're probably one of the 5 best programs to never have one, along with like Clemson, Cal. I think your guys are up there. I think West Virginia's ever had one.
Yeah.
There's a handful of ones like that. Is he going to be the first Heisman winner in their school history? Are you kidding me? No way.
There's no
No.
way, bro. Like, I understand that Nico's stock has like plummeted because of what last year looked like and because of that, but like, man, Nico is a substantially more talented player than Joey Aguilar, like substantial. And like, the system couldn't work for Nico, even if Joey Aguilar is a great fit for Josh Heupel's system, which I am not convinced of. But even if that were the case, he is not good enough to be able to put up what needs to happen for him to win the Heisman.
No, and then Caden Salter, you've got like you're going to Big 12 media days with Juju Lewis. That ain't
Yeah.
great.
No, not at all.
All right.
He
Who's
has
too
better
cold?
odds than our boy Dylan Raiola, too, which is hilarious.
Dylan Raiola is like, what's your odds? It's 15-1.
Yeah, right.
I saw this thing where like I think it was on Facebook, like pictures of Brittany Mahomes or Brittany Matthews back in the day, like hugging Patrick Mahomes, and he just has like this sad face on his sad look on his face, and he's like, yeah, he sits in his car in the driveway before he goes inside.
100%. You gotta just think about life there for a second.
Whereas Dylan Raiola is smiling from ear to ear like the Joker, baby.
Of course he is.
He's always smiling. All right, who's too cold? Who too cold on here?
This is probably going to surprise you the name I'm about to say and the number one name I have on here. John Mateer at 30 to
I
1,
had a
man.
feeling you might said that. That's you know what? I like that because like if Oklahoma has the season that they're capable of, they have a very tough schedule. I would
Mhm.
say like it's one of the 3 hardest along with Florida and Vanderbilt in the country.
Yeah.
And I think fourth is Texas, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah. And like, if he navigates that with any kind, like, I'm not even saying Oklahoma, like, I think with the schedule that Oklahoma has in front of them and the upside that Mateer and Arbuckle with Ott in the backfield as well, like, with the upgrades that Oklahoma has made on the offensive side of the ball as they tried to overhaul the disaster that was last year, like, there is a ton of upside there. They don't even have to make the college football playoff for Mateer to put up unbelievable numbers and get to New York. And like at 30-1, when you have guys like Ty Simpson with the same odds, with Bryce Underwood, who we don't even know if he's going to be the starter in week one, having better odds, someone like Julian Sand, who we don't know what that is, having 20-1 odds compared to 30, like Mateer's path is much clearer to me than it is for all of those other guys.
Yeah, like there's a lot of guys ahead of Mateer that have less experience. Like you mentioned Underwood, you mentioned Sane, more as well. Lagway doesn't have as much. You
Arch,
really look
obviously.
Arch as well, but like Nussmeier, Klubnik, Aller, and Beck have like more experience, and Sellers is probably a little bit less too, but like
Yeah.
he's played a bunch of games. Maybe it's a level up in competition, but like the guy just looks like he just looks like he's can play. I don't know. He's got some of that Joe Burrow swag too. I kind of dig it.
He does. And I mean, like, not to, like, I don't want to lean too heavily on this, and this definitely isn't the biggest point, but like, we watched Cam Ward take a substantial like leap in competition last year, and he was a Heisman finalist. Like, it's not unheard of to see this happen.
No, I think that's also why I think Jake Dickert's eventually going to turn it around in a wig pretty soon. I think he
Hmm.
basically really sets up his quarterbacks to have success. He was a guy that was thought to go to Michigan State, ultimately was Jonathan Smith 2 years ago. But like, yeah, those guys at Wazoo got coached up, and we'll see what happens with Jimmy Rogers now.
Yeah, hell yeah, brother.
Okay, so the first guy I've got here at 42-1, Kevin Jennings. That's
Hmm.
that's too low. My thought is the ACC is almost always good. There's 4 Heisman finalists. The ACC is going to get one there. It was Cam Ward last year. It was Kenny Pickett not that long ago. If Kevin Jennings plays like he did a year ago, it maybe takes a step up under at Lashley with the increased brand recognition there at SMU. You get back to Charlotte. I mean, he's like we're hyping him up as much as we are like LaNorris Sellers, and it's
Hmm.
and again he's young. He's gonna play this year and next, and then probably be I don't know top 100 pick. We'll see
Oh,
where he
easy.
goes.
Yeah,
Yeah.
100%. Like, I could see him being very much a similar path to like Jalen Milroe. Like, I think that would make a
Hmm.
lot of sense for him in terms of quarterback evaluation. But yeah, like, it's a dude who made the college football playoff last year. And I feel like that's one of my things with like why I'm a little bit higher on SMU than some is I'm like, are we forgetting what this team did last year with this guy at quarterback, with the resources that you're going to have at SMU? Like, man, like I just feel like us SMU is being overlooked as like almost being lumped into like kind of like Indiana last year, like, oh, it was just kind of a flash in the pan, wasn't gonna happen. And like I to some degree, I don't think that's true with Indiana either, but I definitely don't think it's true with SMU. Like I think SMU has established themselves enough to like get a little bit more respect than they or Kevin Jennings obviously are getting here.
You bring up a good point with the SMU Indiana comparison. Indiana's there because like their boosters are paying big money. They paid a lot to buy out Tom Allen.
Hmm.
They probably had to pay a good amount to get Kurt Cignetti to come there, but like that's a transformative coach. SMU wanted to be Power Four so badly they'll forego revenue. We'll see if what the Jim Irsay Trust wants to do and if Clark Hunt wants to pay a dime. But like SMU really wants this badly, and they came in there and they proved a lot of people wrong this past season. And I'm very, of course, Jennings has to like not get in his own head and let things snowball like he did in Happy Valley.
You know, I mean, hey, you know what? He doesn't have to play in Happy Valley during the regular season, so that's a
All
plus
right.
on his resume already.
Yeah. You got anybody else that you feel too cold on?
Yeah, and I've already mentioned him once already, and I think it's just because I know how ridiculous he is, and like this could look dumb, but it could be great. Devin Dampier at 50-1, man. His talent, his ability to make guys miss, like with his rushing ability, if he takes any sort of progression as a passer when he goes to Utah, this dude can put up some ridiculous numbers against Big 12 defenses. Like it could be video game type numbers. And if again, like we're not there yet, but McMurphy has them in the playoff. If Devin Dampier puts up those types of numbers and Utah is fighting for a college football playoff spot, he's going to be in serious consideration. Like you go back and look, like just watch some of his highlights last year from New Mexico. And granted, it was a lower level of competition, but he looked like he was playing against a lower level of competition. The problem was the rest of his team was god awful.
Yeah, he's a big reason why Utah is gonna potentially bounce back. I've got two more. I've got Ryan Williams at 40 out of Alabama, and I've got Haynes King at 100 out of Georgia Tech.
I looked at Haynes King a little bit too.
So with Ryan Williams, again, he should be in college now as opposed to last year.
Yeah.
I think he's the most talented player on the Alabama offense over Ty Simpson, over Austin Mack. We'll see what happens with Keon Russell, but like we got to let that bake.
Hmm.
There's going to be plays that Ryan Williams is going to do like Larry Fitzgerald did at Pitt, or even against versus Georgia last year. We're like, whoa, I haven't seen anything like this in a while. Like when you have a receiver doing stuff like Devontae Smith or Randy Moss or
Mhm.
Larry Fitzgerald, like it resonates. And Alabama's a big brand for making the playoff. They want a non-quarterback there. That makes a lot of sense.
Yeah, and I also think that when you look at Ryan Williams, like Jeremiah Smith is a better player in my estimation. Like obviously he's a better wide receiver, but like I don't think he's 16 to 1 to 40 to 1 better necessarily. And
No,
also Jeremiah Smith has more competition in the Ohio State receiving room than Ryan Williams does in the Alabama receiving room.
I think that's fair. And then with the Haynes King of it all, let's just say that Georgia Tech wins clean old fashioned heat
Yeah.
and they go to Charlotte, and you've got a quarterback that's the driving force for whatever they're doing. That sounds a lot like Joe Hamilton back in the day.
100%. No, I mean
And,
like there are a lot worse 100 to 1 odds bets you can make than that.
and like, I wouldn't rule out Buster Faulkner winning the Broyles Award. I think that he's
Not at all.
so overqualified to be doing this, but like 100 to 1, Canes King should be about 50 to 1.
Yeah, agreed. He should like him and Devin Dampier, same conversation we're having. Like he should definitely be in that same range.
Totally. And who's just right? Maybe let's just do one or two apiece and move on.
Yeah, I only have one for just right, and it's LaNorris Sellers. I think LaNorris Sellers' odds are perfect there at 19 to 1. Like I would probably like have DJ Lagway behind him, but I think in terms of like just odds, like looking at his odds specifically, 19 to 1 makes a lot of sense to me because I feel like that perfectly bakes in the variance that could happen with Lenora Sellers. We are obviously believers. We are in the cult of Lenora Sellers. We believe in the goggles. We will one day ascend and wear the goggles ourselves. It will be great.
If
But like we know the upside that this guy has. This guy has like Cam Newton type of upside in terms of what he could do for this offense. And if he reaches that, he's going to be going to New York City if South Carolina goes to the college football playoff. I feel very confident in that. At the
uh,
same time, if it doesn't work out, and like he's the same player he was last year, there's still some struggles as a passer. He doesn't progress the way that we want him to, and he probably returns to school for 2026 season at South Carolina. Like I feel like 19 to 1 perfectly encapsulates both sides of that. Like you're protecting yourself from the upside and the downside there.
Totally agree with you there with Sellers. I'm going to go the other side of Palmetto. I'm going to go Cade Klubnik at 9 to 1.
Hmm.
I kind of feel like he's not everyone's favorite quarterback. It's like, oh, I love Arch Manning. Oh, I love Nussmeier. But I'll take Klubnik over Aller for sure. And we'll see what happens with Sellers. So like I feel Klubnik's like 9 to 1, 10 to 1 seems about fair for where he is in the
Mhm.
ACC pecking order. I guess I got two more that I thought were interesting. Jeremiah Love at 48 to 1 feels pretty good. And
Mhm.
honestly, I'm okay with Marcel Reed at 60 to 1.
You're
You are,
higher
you're
on
not.
Marcel Reed than me, but
Okay.
I'm with you on Jeremiah Love because I almost had him as too cold, but then I thought a little bit more about it and like he is probably one of the 10 most talented players in college football, but at the same time, it's Notre Dame and they don't just like Notre Dame simply does not like pick a horse and ride it. They don't do that. And so like they're going to let CJ Carr throw the football. They're going to spread it out. They're going to not like give Jeremiah Love 30 carries a game. Like they're going to split it so he's healthy for a postseason run. And so like the talent is there, the upside is there, but I'm not quite sure that he's going to get the workload that you probably need to win a Heisman as a running back right now.
Yeah, and that's why we don't see like any other running backs of note on here. But like he has to get more of a workload.
Mhm.
I guess with Reed, like it's the Colin Klein special. It's like you're gonna be Colin Klein 2.0. You're tough. We know you're tough. Run the ball. And if you play a good defense under Mike Elko, which is possible, I mean, I need Jesse Palmer to come in here and slap me or give me a rose or something like that. But I'm getting a little high in A&M. I shouldn't be doing this.
Hey, you know what? As the guy who picked NC State to win the ACC last year, I'm not going to talk you off anything, but I can't join you on that ledge.
And I think that's fair. Maybe you'll join me on another ledge with some do Haas or do Haas. Yes, our
Okay.
penultimate topic here. This was on Get Up, I think, earlier or the latter part of last week. Heather Dinich was asked, will James Franklin screw up Penn State's was it James will James Franklin screw up Penn State's quest to win a national championship?
I'm gonna go do Haas 1S, but and probably not in the way that you think I'm going to. I don't think it's going to be in game. I think if Penn State doesn't win a national quest, like if their request for a national championship gets derailed, it's going to be because of this offseason, which falls on James Franklin's feet still, but it is his fault. I like the addition of Trevor Pena. Like, I think that's an upgrade in the wide receiver core, and you did make other upgrades there. Did you make significant enough upgrades though? And that's the big question I have. Like, how much different is this Penn State offense from what it was a year ago? Like, I'm still fully confident in what this defense is going to be capable of, especially with Jim Knowles coming in there, because even if you do feel some of the effects of Abdul Carter leaving and guys like that, I still think at the end of the day, Jim Knowles is the best defensive coordinator in college football. So like even if you've had talent there at Penn State, I still think you're upgrading a defensive coordinator, which is a crazy thing to say, but I think Jim Knowles is that good. The big question for me is how much does this offense level up? Like, we have faith in the coordinator in Cody Nicky. We have faith in Drew Allar and what he can be. We know this running back crew, but like what we need is this wide receiver core who they did not complete a pass to in the semifinals last year of the college football playoff. Like, have they upgraded enough to make a meaningful impact? And if that, I think that is the big linchpin for if Penn State is a national championship candidate or if they fall short again. And if they fall short again, it's because you didn't do enough to address the most glaring and obvious weakness on your roster.
I'm gonna go do Host 1S as well for different reasons. I'm impressed you had one that I didn't think about there, the offseason additions. Look, I'm going to go back and forth on this. I've said Penn State's my pick to win the national championship, but it just snags in the back of my brain with James Franklin, obviously being in the Big Ten, the nature of the playoff, and then obviously what Aller can do. Maybe two and a half, three reasons. So the first one is he's the driver. He goes 10-2.
Mm-hmm.
And you can win a lot of games going 10-2, but at some point, you gotta the road to Miami is not going to be a straight shot. It's not going to be smooth sailing. You may have to like dodge traffic. You may have to avoid an accident. You may have to get off the interstate. You want to avoid those pitfalls, unlike the ultimate driving machine Mark Richt would do. You always knew it was coming. You knew he was going to hit something, and it always slowed you down.
Mm-hmm.
So that's part of it too. I would also say that something has to give at some point. Penn State doesn't lose as a favorite, but they don't beat a top 5 team.
Mm-hmm.
So unless like if they get the 1 seed, like they'd have to play like the most cupcake schedule to get there to basically not play a top 5 team. Okay, so you play 8-9, so you get there, but in the semis you need to get like a 6, 10, or 11, and then you got to get like it's not working out there. Something has to give, and probably the last bit is this is untrodden territory.
Mm-hmm.
And I will say this about any head coach that hasn't won one yet. Basically, everybody in the game right now, outside of Kirby Smart, Dabo Swinney, and Ryan Day. I don't know how you're going to do it until you do it. And there's always going to be some trepidation in the back of your mind. And I feel this with Sark. And that's kind of, maybe we feel this with Franklin. Maybe we feel this with Marcus Freeman. Maybe not as much with him. Certainly feel it with Dan Lanning and that upper crust, DeBoer as well. But like, what's he going to do when he is in that spot? Is he going to rise to the occasion, or is he going to have liquid fear run out his leg like Kyle Shanahan?
No, and I mean, it's a great point, and that's definitely a factor. Like, I'm confident enough in this Penn State team, like, to say that it's probably not going to be a 10-2 season. Like, I'm confident enough to say, like, we saw last year, like, we were at 11-1, not 10-2. So like we're making progressions. We're getting through there. But there's a lot of steps that it takes to get from 10-2, like the guy who just finishes 10-2 and loses to top 5 teams, to winning a national championship. And like, you brought up Sark, which I think is a great point in this. Like, I think Sark is a phenomenal head coach, but he does Sark games up. Like, we've seen it time and time again. We've seen, like, I understand that the Penn State wide receiver core was not very good a year ago, but it's also on this staff that they didn't throw the ball to the wide receiver core last year and lost to Notre Dame. Like, that is on them, and like that is a coaching blunder that you have to, like, hey, late in the game when you got to make a play, what they probably don't expect because you haven't thrown a pass to them? Throw a pass to the wide receiver. Maybe that'll catch them on their heels. Like, just think, like, use your mind just a little bit. And like, we've seen James Franklin, particularly against Ohio State in recent years, like, we've seen his teams constantly come up with those blunders that like just leave you scratching your head and being like, what was that decision about? Going forward on 4th and 1 at the goal line against Ohio State when like you probably should have just taken the points. Like, there's so many different machinations at this that James Franklin has failed at. And I do think he is progressing and getting better, but how much better has he got?
That that meme with that guy where he basically he puts a cap on his head and like each day he gradually makes it bigger,
Oh
waiting
yeah.
for somebody to notice like it's Megamind. Like that's James
Yeah.
Franklin right now.
100%.
He's got to do it. Like I will say though, if he doesn't do it this year, it's never going to happen.
I think that's very fair.
And I don't really feel that with anybody else
Yeah.
in the top of the like every other coach. Like, okay, Sark could have another recruiting season. Lanning could have the one where it finally clicks. Your board finally gets the right pieces. Maybe he gets rid of a few co-coordinators.
And I mean, to be clear, we've seen coaches in similar positions. I think a better coach, but nonetheless, like we've seen, like if Jim Harbaugh didn't win the national championship a couple years ago, man, he's either probably still gone for the NFL or Michigan is probably still not in a like particularly great spot last year. Like because you were losing so like that was the window. It was we have the team to win a national championship this year. If we don't, it is a failure and our window is closed. We're going to have to open up another window. And like James Franklin is very much in that same way. Whereas like you mentioned like Ohio State, Texas, Alabama, Georgia, their window is always open. Like they recruited a level that the window is always open. Penn State and Michigan are a tier below that where they're not, they're not looking for pop years like, or anything like that. They're not Illinois this year where like, Illinois can take advantage of the pop year, but you do have national championship windows as opposed to like we can make the playoff almost every year.
Maybe it's revisionist history, but like I never felt like Ohio State last year like it was their year. There was a lot of pressure, but like it could have happened at some other point. Like
Right.
the same sort of thing happened with Kirby in 21 and then Dabo in 16. It was like it was going to happen eventually,
Mm-hmm.
but it maybe not necessarily like we didn't think it was going to happen like that year specifically. Like it
No,
was
yeah.
the window opened and they took advantage. It wasn't like the window's closing and we got to fit through here.
Right. And that's definitely what it feels like. And, James Franklin might have his hands on the wheel at 10 and 2, but we don't know how fast he's going. So we'll see if we can get through the window.
I don't know if he can fit through the window, but let's take a trip to Laredo. Let's move on to our last topic here with some local scouting report here.
Sure.
So I went to Athens with the Arizona State podcast. We saw Band of Horses on Wednesday the 2nd. Cody the 4th of July in New Mexico. I did 4th of July in Atlanta. I've got 3 things. You got 2 things. I'm gonna try to be concise here. I've rehearsed this so I could try to be good.
Start us off since you got one more than me. You start us off.
Okay. So going up to Athens. So basically every July, my girlfriend and I go to Athens. We started this when we were dating. It's kind of like a trip. We usually go the end of the month, uh, right before our classes begin. But Band of Horses are playing. It's like, okay, cool. Let's go up there 2 days early. If you tell people it's your anniversary, it's great. They'll be very accommodating, but you get a lot of food and alcohol pushed in your face.
It happens like that. It's not always a bad thing, though.
No, no. So we go to a really nice restaurant there, just stuff. And I'm like, oh, we're gonna order this. Like, what about the cornbread? I'm like, I don't need the cornbread. They're like, you are getting some damn cornbread. And it was the best cornbread I ever had.
You're in
my life.
Athens, Georgia. You're getting some effing cornbread, brother.
Oh, it's your. Did you want dessert? Nah, we're full. Well, you're getting dessert too.
Hell yes.
And then so we had to go back to the hotel and like recoup a minute because I'm full and we're dying, brother.
Yeah.
But also, you lived in Georgia for a while. Every night in June and July it rains. Like,
Oh
for
yeah. Oh
hours on
God,
end.
yes.
So when you do that in the 30, being in like in my 30s and stuff, like basically one drink at an establishment, then you move on, you can basically maintain pace. But when it's raining, they keep coming. And we were the only people at one bar because Athens was dead. We go to the next bar. I don't know if you've ever been to Cutter's Pub, if you've heard of that place.
I've heard of it, never been.
Yeah, it's Caddy Quarter from Georgia Theater. So there was a lot of people in there. There was a guy who asked Rosemary, like, hey, can you watch my backpack? I got to go outside. He comes back in, he takes all of his stuff, then tries to play pool, then proceeds to leave his umbrella and his Nalgene or his Stanley. And then Rosie's like, you want this stuff? She's like, no, I sold this umbrella to this guy, and where I'm going, I can't take this Stanley with me.
What does that mean? What does that mean?
I don't know. We're watching this guy's stuff. He had a time. So that's night one of Athens. So you
That's
going?
some
What?
Doc Brown stuff right there. Like where we're going, we don't need roads. Like where we're going, we don't need Stanleys. Like that's
No.
wild. What a wild thing to say.
It was. Glad that had payoff there. Okay, what's your first thing you got for a local scouting report?
All right, so you and all the starters saw my patriotism and my garb for the July 4th, which I thought I did a pretty good job of just not addressing the entire time the entire episode. That's also what I wore to the 4th of July party we went to. And we want the NC State podcast and I had matching America tank tops. I had the bandana, she did not. We both had on some jorts. We were looking sick. One thing I did not factor into this was that the bandana was about midway down my forehead. It was a bit hot. I did sunscreen up, but I did not reapply. And so I have just a brutal tan
Oh.
line going on right now. So
That's
yeah,
the
make sure you reapply your sunscreen is the lesson that I learned this weekend.
the false start injury report, the FSIR.
It's tough, man. It's tough. Good thing I'm
uh,
always wearing a hat, but man, it was a tough scene.
okay. Okay, so I was not prepared for that at all.
I told you I had a reveal for you. Yeah.
Okay. So the second night we're at Athens, we go to see Panda Force. They're playing at the Georgia Theater, about maybe 500 people, two different levels, mostly standing up. So you're a big fan of Band of Horses and
Hmm.
everything like that. So the main person in the band is Ben Bridwell. He's
Hmm.
mid to late 40s, kind of a string bean guy.
Oh yeah.
Kind of has like how would you describe his haircut? Like it's like,
It's like an emo kid grew up. Like that's really what it boils
mhm.
down
Yeah,
to.
gonna try to form a band in Nashville kind of vibe.
Yeah, exactly.
So he looks like he would, he's got his beard longer, he's got neck tats, he's got like a nice like button down jeans, slacks, nice Gibson guitars. Like 4 minutes, 4 songs in, he's just pouring out sweat. Sweatiest dude I've ever seen in my life.
Literally all I was thinking as soon as you said long sleeve shirt, I'm like, brother, it is July in Athens, Georgia. Absolutely not.
And I mean, like he's maybe 5'10", a buck, like a buck 160. Like he's just sweating profusely. And just like this guy is gonna pass out. And also I was sitting there with the Arizona State podcast, like, I don't know exactly where he's from, but I think he's from South Carolina. Most South Carolina accent I've ever heard.
Love that. South Carolina, baby.
It's like, now listen up now. I was half expecting Uncle Baby Billy to start talking to me.
Uncle Baby Billy, and then he starts playing Inner Sandman, I guess.
But he was always thankful. It's like, well, thank you all so much for the song. I could sleep. Also the bass player, just like looks like Ron Swanson working at a line meat factory.
Love that. Hell yeah.
Like
That's an aesthetic. That's
I
what we
looked
should all
at
strive for.
like I can never look like Ben Bridwell, but I could look like that guy if I got my S together. And he's over there, he's playing like a Fender Precision, like a jazz bass. And
Yeah.
band's a lot heavier than I thought. He's over there slamming on it like he's Let Me Kill Meister of Motorhead, just going. And I'm like, it was a vibe. And this guy was just like he's basically like the guy they would put on on like a brawny paper towels, or like people to use beard oil. Like this guy was just like the man of men.
Hey, if you look like that, you got to play your bass. You got to play the S out of it, man. That's the only way.
All right, last little thing about the concert, then I'll be like, get your
Yeah.
thing. I know I had a lot. So, where we're staying, we're kind of at an incline. There's a couple behind me. There's like a 5 foot half Asian girl and a guy with like a ponytail with trying to film everything. They're staying next to like a trash can. And every so often when somebody moves, she would go push it. She must have moved the trash can like 20 feet further down. And everyone was kind of like laughing about it. And I look over to Rosemary. I'm like, can you move your feet? Like our feet are like stuck to the pavement. I thought I was gonna rip the soles off my Vans.
It'd be like that sometimes.
But yeah, great show. Definitely enjoyed it. Glad to finally see that.
Hell yeah, dude. I still haven't seen him, and I'm a little jealous because I'm sure that was a good show.
All right, what's your last one?
All right, Cody's gonna get a little heated now because as I mentioned, I have not slept much for the past few nights. Fireworks are dumb, and I don't care who. Like, I don't care. Like, I think it's the lowest IQ thing in the world to like fireworks. Like, oh, big thing go boom in the sky, cool, cool, cool. No, absolutely dumb. Yeah, shouts Jason Pierre-Paul. We're not here for it, man. Like, and despite my strong feelings towards fireworks being dumb, pointless, and not worth your time or money, to be clear, because they are not cheap. And these people who spend like hundreds to thousands of dollars for fireworks, like, brother, donate that to a charity. Do anything else with your money than what you're currently doing. Like, my God. But regardless of all that, if you do enjoy that activity, don't be an ass about it. We had someone shooting off fireworks at 1:30 a.m. on Friday night. And Doc Huron is already losing his ass over this entire thing. He's got his Thunder shirt on, his 100-pound Thunder shirt that we have, and like he's not having a good time. I'm not having a good time. I want to go the F to sleep. And then someone at 1:30 starts shooting off more fireworks. Like I have never been so close to just running out of my house, locating the lights and like chasing it like I'm the freaking rainbow, trying to find the pot of gold and like just like ready to fight because I was so pissed off at that moment. Like again, I hate fireworks. I know that is a personal thing, but you show a little courtesy, man. Don't be an ass about
Catch me lucky firearms.
it. That's right.
So Huron and Benji are basically kind of like a similar personality.
Yeah.
Huron doesn't like thunder, I would assume.
Oh God, no. God, no.
Does he go hide somewhere? He's
Uh,
just fine. He just finds mom.
he finds mom, or he really likes this like little crook under my desk right here. If mom's not home, and what I have found will help a little bit is we put the Thunder shirt on him. I go lay on the couch, and then I get him. I don't know why this helps, but if I put a leash on him and like have the leash on him, but while he lays beside me on by the couch, that also helps.
Benji goes to any powder room or a laundry room or a closet. It just pants. It just he thinks it's the scorched earth Armageddon. He
Oh
does
yeah.
this he does this the entire month of June when it rains at night.
Yeah, I mean, I'm 100% sure that's why Huron is the way he is because he is an Atlanta dog. Like we got him when we were in Atlanta, and so like, and we got him in January when we're not having those storms, and so like his puppy, like his first puppy days were quiet, and then all of a sudden it's like, what fresh hell is this coming from the sky?
And that transitions quite perfectly to my last one. So I saw his show. You ever go to Bantam Pub?
Oh yeah, man, dude, that place slaps.
I think they bought the venue behind it so they can do
Okay.
outdoor shows. So yeah, me, the Arizona State podcast, and two of our friends who went to UNCW,
Oh nice.
um, we saw a Limp Bizkit cover band called Pimp Trisket.
Oh my God, hell yes.
So we go there on the 4th of July. We go there, get dinner. Bantam Pub is fantastic food, but you're not going to be getting service. Like you're going to be you're there for an hour and a half, and it's mostly because of it. That's how
Yeah,
it
no.
works.
And I mean, like, for those who aren't me and haven't been there, like, it's not a very big venue. Like, it's a very small space.
No. So they had a DJ and they had like a cash bar. And there's a guy that looked like Tommy Jagai doing not Tommy Jagai things over there. Ran into the speaker and knocked it out for the DJ before the lead up to the show. And then the guy kept going. He's playing like flip cup like in front of us. Just guy just kept going. Just vibes in a tank. Like this guy definitely makes six figures.
Oh, yeah.
But this is who he really is. Um, you know, the crowd was a lot. There's guys with skull tattoos. There's girls with just give me the F me up fam package on my leg. Like, I don't care what's on here. So we see Pimp Trisket, and I know like a handful of songs by Limp Bizkit. Can't really see. So they've got like an American flag, but it's got a blooming onion in the middle of it. Behind the drum kit, they're shooting off fireworks like and like a side thing over there in a parking lot. It's hot as ass.
Mhm.
And I felt like, this is I feel like I was in Jacksonville, Florida in like 1999 when the biscuit was going.
All I can think about is, first off, wish I was there. And then secondly, man, do you know if the band was from Georgia?
I think so. They're like Atlanta based.
Big missed opportunity to not call it Pimp Brisket. Because, like, that's way better.
Uh, Whatever. But it was like, how do I know the show is going to be interesting? So the drummer's a girl. She's like, I'm going to be sweating the whole time. I'm just going to wear a bikini. And then
I mean,
and,
that's very Limp Bizkit in the vibe.
and the guy playing guitar obviously wore like a Star Wars mask like Westmoreland. And I'm like, you are going to pass out here and die.
He may have. We just don't know. He's mastered the art of passing out standing up.
But we decided it was time to go when we saw somebody wearing a Gulf of America tank, and that
Mm.
was rough. And it was almost as rough when we're like, they haven't played break stuff yet, and I don't want to be here when they play break stuff at 11 a.m. when they have to stop.
No, absolutely not.
Also, last little thing. So like I mentioned, like it rains.
Mhm.
So Rosemary and I went out to eat the night before we went to Athens. We went to a place called Motorboat, and it's like, elevated sandwiches. It's like the place that plays like
Yeah, you've
big
been
watch
selling this
reruns.
place to me, and I elevated. You had me at elevated sandwiches. Let's be clear.
The muffalata and the Hawaiian one was great. I
Oh,
loved it.
Hawaiian sounds good.
But it was raining, and we basically had a couple more cocktails than we anticipated in this restaurant. The bartender was like sitting right next to us at Pimp Trisket, and he didn't remember us at all.
Hey, you know what? He probably had some elevated sandwiches as well.
This was episode 190 of False Start. You can follow me, John Buhler, on Twitter or the X at Buhler118. You can follow Cody Williams at the Sizzle 20. You can follow the show at CFB False Start. Like, rate, listen, subscribe, review on Apple, Spotify, YouTube, anywhere there's podcasts. Give us a 5-star review. There's 5 members of Little Biscuit, only 4 in Buena Band of Horses. 5.
Five if you count you, because I couldn't remember if you went to see him or you joined him. I couldn't remember which one.
Uh, I was also told at a taco place that I look like I belong in Lord of the Rings, and I'm like, that's not really a compliment to me.
It would be
For
to
you,
me, but that's neither here
I
nor
know.
there.
I'm like, so okay, yeah. I'm gonna have to get a haircut before the season starts.
Brother, I need a haircut so bad right now. It's getting brutal.
Oh my god, I think we should do like locks for love.
There we
Just
go. There we go.
like I could lose 6 inches and it would be okay.
Locks for false start. Let's go.
Oh my god, yeah. I'm trying to think about it with Pip Trisket. You would have just blown your mind there.
I like, let's be clear, I probably would have gotten just belligerent. So yeah. I would have been the guy wanting to stay for break stuff, for sure.
It's just one of those days. And this is false start.